Hey, beautiful people, it's Dr. D. So I'm still very reflective on this question of do teachers need guns? I shared some thoughts the other day that I'm going to call part 1. And I'm going to call my reflections today part 2, because the notion is being so loudly articulated and announced by some supporters of NRA and the President of the United States, that we need to arm teachers. So some additional issues. One, we're talking about training and arming teachers in the same way that we do law enforcement. I think we're still at a crisis with that. So we've got a couple of debates on the table. One, how do we yet celebrate the law enforcement men and women who do their jobs well, put their lives on the line, and at the same time, how do we hold those accountable when we see a lapse in judgment or questionable judgment? And we're very selective of when there's a questionable judgment. And so in the case that we have now with Parkland, so we're learning very recently that law enforcement officers, for I don't know, a good 3-4 minutes or so, did not aggressively respond to the attacker. And so that's a big question, right? And then we have these earlier questions of when law enforcement has responded, and they felt threatened enough to respond, courageously respond. Those actions tend to impact dark assailants more than they do light ones. So we're still trying to figure out how to do justice equally. And we want to train our teachers. And we're going to put them in the same position that we have law enforcement in right now, where we're debating on when did law enforcement do their job and how do we celebrate that, and when there is a lapse in judgment. And we don't all agree when there's a lapse in judgment. Perhaps we agree on this one in Parkland, but many others we don't agree. And just very interesting how, officers often say they felt threatened, so they had to act quickly, and they had to act quickly to protect. It's very interesting when they do that and when they don't do that. So now we're going to take that same training and we're going to put it in the hands of teachers. Okay, issue number 2. We're talking about arming teachers with guns. Teachers who are a part of a system that has not figured out how to equally educate. Oh, the stats are very clear in terms of black and brown men again. The achievement gap, the dropout rate, the rate at which dark and brown men drop out of school, which is not indicative of their intellectual power and capabilities and their potential. It is not indicative of such. I love the way one of my former pastors used to say, you take these same kids and they drop out of school and you find them, running their illegal hustle, their street corner businesses, perhaps short-lived, but they run them with no calculator, no pen, no paper. They know numbers. They know business. They know ounces. They know product. We can take that same brain power, turn that into problem solvers. We're talking about kids that probably can help find the cure to cancer if it's not already found, the cure to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all these different things. They have that kind of brain power, but we cannot equally educate, and now we're going to arm teachers to equally protect. I don't get it. The math does not add up. You cannot equally educate. There's no way you can equally protect. You want to arm teachers? Arm teachers with funding, pay them appropriately, and arm them with training. Training that will challenge us to courageously face where and how we fail our children. Some of them, because we're not failing all of them. So we want to arm teachers in that way. Arm them with paychecks commensurate to the work that's being done. And arm them with training. I know you say, well, we've been training. Yeah. But there's some back-end stories that don't come out in that training. And yes, I know I'm in secondary education, and although it's not K through 12, we're right next door. And I have a number of colleagues who work K through 12. and the heart-to-heart conversations that happen at the water cooler, the ones that happen in little enclaves that don't necessarily come out. And if you don't think socioeconomic communities, socioeconomic issues, people's income level and race, those are very well at the center of why we're not educating equally. Very much so. So, if we can't equally educate, how are we going to equally protect? Until you answer that, I'm not prepared to arm teachers. And I absolutely support the Second Amendment. That Second Amendment, go to the gun range, be trained, protect your family. But I do not think we have yet the right level of maturity, responsibility, and courage of truthfulness to arm teachers. We barely have it to arm police officers. We don't have it to arm teachers. All right. Think about it. Think about it. Share your voice. Make sure you vote. Make sure you participate in conversation settings and vote. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody. Be thoughtful. Be thoughtful. Be thoughtful. And try to be courageous enough to tell the truth about how we fail each other in our human regard. And a gun is not going to solve all of that. Might you need it on some occasions, but it's not going to solve all of that. It's my thoughts. You need to own yours.